See, we've spoken before about Night at the Eagle Inn, and you've also previously made 10 Minutes to Midnight. So you're obviously, you know, now here with She Came from the Woods, so you're obviously very much into your horror. I was just wondering where the enjoyment for the genre came from for you both.
We always frequented the horror aisle when we were growing up at, well, I don't know if we had Blockbusters in London, but the Blockbusters in Riveting, yeah. And there was just something about I don't know, there was just something fun, like you were getting away with something, and this kind of imagination driving thing, or I think I probably said this to you before, the feeling of staying up a little too late and stumbling on some show that's probably a little too old for you, just was always something that felt very fun to us. So we like living with it in that genre. It's also like a very personal experience and a very like community driven experience, which I love about the genre too. But I don't know if we make necessarily like across the board like feel bad horror. I think there's always a degree of hopefully fun in what we do.
And some sentimentality, I think.
Yeah,
that goes along with it, which is important to us because it's not just about, you know, the horror for the sake of horror, but there's something more, I think, that we try to weave in as well.
That elevates the horror too.
Yeah,
and I don't want to say elevated because I know that people.
I agree. Yeah, I that bugs me too. So
you know what we're saying.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I mean, obviously, She Came from the Woods. It's on the surface an 80s slasher throwback, sort of Friday the 13th, sleepaway camp sort of thing. But there is also this whole extra side of it, which is about, you know, generational trauma and, you know, secrets in families and that. So is that important, as you were saying, is that important that you always sort of have something a little meatier than just, you know, gore on the screen?
Yeah, and we say this, people who like excitedly made a movie about, you know, like sorry, that got a pass. Who very excitedly made a movie about that has set pieces with just screaming children chasing people through the woods at night and just
things you'd
like,
expect in the genre.
You know, like we also like who love those kinds of things, fun for the sake of fun, absolutely. But
I think it gives an interesting playground though to explore certain themes that other genres don't have the unique ability to do in the same exact way, like familial trauma and generational trauma and secrets and stories and everything. I think something about we talk a lot about the secrets we keep and the stories we tell as a theme that's just really at the heart of this movie. And I think there's just something we wanted to mine there with this.
Like what dies with you, what passes on, when is it the right thing to let something die with you? When is it the right thing to keep sharing it? Like
it opens a discussion, I think, that has to do with that very sort of question.
And then we just, you know, intersperse it with some of these very fun set pieces that I think allow those themes to kind of be addressed without you getting fatigued by them, and then those themes make the action more fun. So, you know, we like both, but fun is always at the center of it.
Can't compromise.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance.
And there are a lot of fun set pieces and gore gags and things in this. You know, how much fun did you guys have sort of trying to think of different ways to kill these poor counselors?
A lot.
Yeah, I'm going through them in my head right now. I mean, there are some that we wanted to play for comedy and some that we wanted to play for like blunt shock value, and hopefully that works. We'll be excited to see when we watch it with people. But it was very fun to brainstorm that, and also to be, I don't want to say like confined by what our restrictions were, but it kind of directed us, like what do we have available to us? Because some kills were different in the original draft of the script, and then we couldn't do them that way, and
there's always the actual sort of like toolbox that we have to work with, and then there's a creativity I think that we were able to derive from that we wouldn't have just by the words on the page as they were initially, which is cool. And it was fun to see everybody have like a contribution on the day that brought something new entirely to what the scene was.
But I will say, anytime we did one of these scenes, like everybody was just so excited.
Yeah.
Like
it's like when you're a kid, you think about being able to do stuff like this, and then we were actually able to do stuff like that
with kids. And then you know, and we had this group of dads on the set who a lot of our ensemble of children belonged to. Their parents, and they were just, anytime something happened, they were just like the biggest cheerleaders for these kids. They were horror dads through and through.
And the kids have been so excited to see the movie too. We've seen them multiple times since. It's been like forever. We're so ready to go back and go to camp again. It's fun for us to bridge, I think, our formative experience and what we're doing now with these like first experiences that these kids are having in the same space.
Very
It's
special.
really nice.
Yeah. And Weekenders, obviously it's not a horror, but I think it has some sort of horror thriller aspects. That's set in an Airbnb where stuff goes wrong. Then you've got Night at the Eagle Inn, where it is a hotel where things go wrong. And now you've got a summer camp where things go wrong. Are you deliberately trying to like warn people off of leaving their houses and going away on holiday?
There's something fun about bastardizing something that should be safe and nice. And then there's, I don't know, it's when you have these one location things, it helps production, although with She Came from the Woods, obviously, like it's a more expansive one location. There are a lot of sub locations, so it's actually multiple camps that play as one camp. But I don't know, it allows, there's a familiarity, and it can be very fun.
I think certain things that happen feel extra resonant, I guess, because they're in spaces that you're familiar with. Maybe that's why. Maybe
and that should be safe.
Yeah. I think you can obviously do something that takes place in some place that you've never imagined you'd be, and there's something interesting about that. But we sort of like somewhat familiar things to people to be able to kind of in some way project themselves into. Does that make sense?
And it allows that pivot point that happens, X minutes into the movie when it goes from a coming of age dramedy to a horror movie.
I just sort of wondered if it was maybe like some of that lockdown feeling sort of seeping into the writing, where it was sort of almost like justifying why you shouldn't go out in a weird sort of subconscious way, like by making these places unsafe.
Yeah, it was, and we made this right kind of smack dab when people were just coming out of their houses a little bit last summer. So I'm sure subconsciously this idea of re-emerging or staying put is woven in somewhere.
And you mentioned earlier, obviously you've got this ensemble cast of youngsters, and then the counselors are sort of a mix, and the family are a mix of familiar and new faces. The most notable being William Sadler. I mean, what was it like having him on set? Because he's obviously he's one of the best actors of his generation.
Sincerely, he had a gravitas the moment he arrived one night. It was he was there for a fitting before he was going to shoot the next day, and he just carried a weight about him and a professionalism, and we knew he was exactly right for this role. Especially, he's the top of 3 generations of family, and needs to carry that in order for it to function properly, and he had that in spades. He was just so playful and thoughtful and collaborative, and he just genuinely cared about what was happening, and such a trooper, because we were shooting overnights at the solstice, so we were shooting true overnights, and some of his heaviest lifting was deep into the night, and he was just the consummate pro and fraternal friend on set with everyone, and that I think you'll see in the movie, just in terms of just what we were able to get. So it was a joy. It was a privilege to be able to work with him, and we just count ourselves so fortunate to be able to have told this story with him, because they're, like I said, there's gravitas, but it's not put on in any way. It's just and that scene early on in the film that he has with the kids in the assembly, that was a treat to be. It was late on. It was the last day actually that we were filming to just experience that with him, because he was playing and interacting with the kids in a way that you don't always get in other sets. It was really cool to be around that.
Yeah, it was actually very emotional to see that, because it's in a room with 40 kids, most of whom probably haven't heard of him, and all of their parents who definitely have, and just seeing this cross-generational thing happening was just on our last day, our victory lap, making a non-horror scene, but it was really nice.
Yeah, and he's the head of the camp. He's the patriarch of the family, and he's the founder of the camp, and therefore you actually give him the opportunity to sing the camp's hymn. I mean, he is sort of known for his singing. So what was it like? Sort of, was that something that he was game for doing, or was it, you know, is it something that was in the script or something that where he's like, wait guys, I can do this?
It's very interesting because
I'm so happy you asked that, guys.
yeah, we weren't expecting it. He brought that very much himself, the sort of solo rendition of that song. Initially, I think everyone was gonna.
I think we thought everyone was going to. I think we thought everybody knew it, and we said, okay, we're gonna sing. And then he started leading the song. Nobody sang along. I think we have a take of him going, nobody's gonna sing with me. And
then we all looked around and we said, no, this works. This is what we want.
And the little girl, and then Tess, who plays Martha, goes,
Yeah.
Sounds good. And then he just kept doing it, and we just were like, Carson just looked to the behind monitor and like nodded and said, this will do.
And the film screening at FrightFest, it's going to be in the main screen, which means it's going to be projected onto the IMAX in Leicester Square. You guys looking forward to seeing the film that big? Because normally when I talk to people for FrightFest that are going to the IMAX, they either don't know because the guys haven't told them, or they are very scared because the only time they've really seen it is on a laptop.
It's a big change, and we're very ready for it. It's sort of surreal at times, but we're ready.
We've been fortunate to do some in theater test screenings. We have a friend at a local movie theater, but we have never seen it nearly this big and as this loud, I'm sure. And I remember Carson, when this was happening, you like he texted me a photo of the auditorium. He's like, "Have you seen this?" And I look at it and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like,
and also, what was I going to say? I was totally going to say something. I'm blanking.
I don't know.
I'm blanking.
That's okay.
And obviously, you're already over. You know, you're ready for FrightFest. Other than getting to share your film, what are you most excited about doing at the festival?
Talking to everybody, and I mean, we're gonna see a bunch of movies. We're planning to, but I just hanging with people, and we miss that. We've missed that for a really long time.
Yeah, that's actually, I was going to say something like that. Our last couple films, we haven't been able to have that, and being able to be in person and at this magnitude is just, it's going to be surreal, I'm sure, on the day when we're around peers and fans
who like also love this stuff, you know, and just our movie and other movies and just the vibes in general. We're just, it's been a long few years.
Definitely. And what the audience is going to get if they take a chance on She Came from the Woods?
Well, what's our pitch? What's our elevator pitch?
I think we can just do a bullet list if we want. Like, a lot of fun.
Not to repeat myself, but I mean, I hope you feel like a kid again, like when you were introduced to that first horror movie by some grown up in your life,
right? Something
like that. And
and I think conversation after. I think some sort of mental kind of like exploration on themes that we're putting out there. I don't think we try to be too overt with what we're exploring. But
yeah, I think we're not. It's not just generic 80s stereotypical rehash, but we're not actively trying to be subversive either, because there is something warm about what we're doing here. That's what we wanted to make. So right. I hope that people find that there's a freshness to it, a freshness and comfort food with a little bit of like new spice. Like,
yeah. Get a little something new with something that's familiar.
And I think you're sort of one of the busiest sort of families going. You know, you're here with She Came from the Woods, but I think you've already wrapped on your next film. Is there anything that you can tell us about that one?
It is a completely different genre. It is a teen movie musical dramedy about a girl and a ghost who fall in love. So there's a supernatural element to it.
So something goes wrong now.
Yeah. Well, he's dead. But we shot that in April. It's very sweet. There's a little bit of darkness to it, but that's gonna happen sometime next year, and we're hoping to be in production, looking pretty good on something else this fall, another horror movie, murder mystery that we've been cooking up for a while. We're very excited about.
Yeah, I mean it is a really impressive sort of like, so I think over the last 2 or 3 years, what you've made, like 5, 6, coming into 7 films. That's busy by anybody's standards, let alone the fact that there's been this global pandemic that has been sort of like halting everything.
And in some ways a motivator in a strange way. Just when everything was creatively stymied, we said we need to figure something out. And I think It's been an impetus for us.
But See Came from the Woods certainly is the first like big one that we've done, you know, but relatively speaking, and we're very, which aligns with the coming out of code, which aligns with a lot of things. So we're very excited to kind of take the skills that we learned on the other ones and the connections we made with some of the smaller movies and let them explode in an interesting way in this movie with just bigger cast and more action and some other surprises. So if you're new to us, I hope that you find and have some fun with this. If you've been with us for a while, like this is going to be
the funnest ride yet.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with the screening and enjoy your FrightFest.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Right, yes. So are you guys here for the full festival?
We are.
Yeah.
Nice.
We live in a week. Yeah, we decided
Tuesday. Yep. 1 week.
So you're going to be doing the karaoke? Has Paul told you about the
I
karaoke?
very likely will.
Is it
Yeah,
fun?
I hear that it gets crazy.
Yeah. It's always the day where like, I don't know, I get home at like, or back to my hotel at like 4 or 5 a.m. and I just like don't understand how that's happened, because it was 11 a.m. like it was 11 p.m. like a minute ago, and now suddenly it's the morning and I've got to check out of my hotel. So yeah,
I have to figure out a song. Whatever, we'll see.
Yeah, that tends to be a media war question I ask people when they're going to karaoke. So I'll prep you ahead of time for that. But thank you for taking the time out. It's much appreciated, and I'll be there for the full festival. So if we don't cross paths at the media wall, I'm sure we'll cross paths somewhere else. So
thank you for all the support through all these past few movies, Kai. We really appreciate it. It's a labor of love. So we appreciate that you continue to highlight us.
So it's not a film that I get on board with, then I don't tend to necessarily write about it. So the fact that I am writing about it means that it is something that sort of stands out to me. So like Weekenders is right. There's at least one more film at FrightFest that's got a Never Have I Ever seen in, and it's always now sort of like flicking back to the Never Have I Ever game in.
I'm so glad that was as effective as it was, because that was really cool to do. You know what I mean? Like that was a movie that's like a sentimental movie, but it has that darkness in it. And now we're doing like a darker movie that has sentimentality at the center. So there's always this interesting yin and yang with what we're doing. So thank you for noticing that.